Hey roomies, welcome back to the channel. This is Roma, and today we're going to talk about ways to bring in different types of textures to give yourself that fall feeling in your room and in your house, and what you can do to further make it feel like it's really that season in your home. So we tried to squeeze in another trip before the end of summer, before my daughter went back to school, and we didn't have a chance to do that. So we actually took a trip just for the weekend. We went down to San Diego and went to the zoo and stayed at our favorite hotel. We like to stay at the Town and Country. This is not sponsored by the Town and Country, by the way, but we do like to stay there when we go. And we got to experience the change of seasons. It was kind of nice because the weather is a little cooler there. I mean, it wasn't horrible. It was really nice, you know, mid 80s. You know, how bad can it be in San Diego? But it did rain one day. It rained actually coming home. Just for a little bit, you know, once you drive for a little while, you kind of drive through it and drive past it. So it was nice to get a little change of season and feel like it's actually fall. So we did that, came home, kind of a quick little weekend. And then it just got me to thinking about ways to bring that feeling with different textures and different materials in your home. So that's what we're gonna talk about today. I'll probably have 3 to 5 different types of materials and textures that you should use or can use or should think about using in your home to give yourself that fall feeling. So here are the 5 materials that are inspired by fall that'll give you that fall feeling that you should try to introduce to your home and in different rooms and spaces to give you that feeling of the season. So one of the first materials I'd like to talk about is bouclé. I know it was trendy and people don't think that bouclé is in. Bouclé is always in. Bouclé has been around for quite a long time. It was one of the materials that was used in clothing, more so women's clothing. If you ever saw a classic Chanel blazer, that is made of bouclé fabric. It is just one of those things that they took from fashion and then they've added it to homeware. And so now this is one of the things that I think talks about excuse me, that gives you that fall feeling, because a lot of people call it teddy bear fabric because it's one of those things you want to cuddle up and hold on to like a teddy bear. But it is actually called bouclé. I know that some people still call it teddy bear fabric, and that's fine if that's what you want to call it, but it is called bouclé. And one of the reasons I like this is because it does feel like one of the things you want to cuddle up against, and it is a warmer type of fabric. It is soft. There is a lot of texture to it. And when you rub your hand across it, it does give you that knobby sort of comforting feeling. And no, it doesn't have to be white. I mean, bouclé comes in all different colors. If you're trying to, you know, choose colors for fall, you can use a brown, you could use taupe, you could use a burgundy, you could use black, any of those colors that are deeper tones for the fall season. You can certainly find your bouclé in that and add it to your room and give you that fall feeling and give you that feeling of coziness and a little bit of luxuriness too. Luxury in your space. Just because I think it helps elevate it. Also, when you're adding different textures to your spaces or to your furniture, it gives your eye, again, something else to travel to and see, and it keeps it from looking flat. So if I just had all of the pillows on the couch that were just all in this linen fabric, and they were all in this one fabric, it wouldn't look as nice. I mean, which is the reason why I added these pillows, because you have this linen on top of this linen, but when you put the bouclé in between, it sort of breaks it up and gives your eye something else to look at. So it just gives it an added texture. So those are the things that you want to do, because it just breaks up the space. It makes it more interesting, gives you more things to look at, and you're just introducing another cozy factor into your space. And the second material we want to introduce into your space would be wool. I know some people find wool to be kind of itchy, and I do too, but it's nice if it's a wool blend because then it won't be as itchy. So if it's like a woolen cotton or woolen silk or something like that, it won't be quite as itchy. The thing that I like about wool, and like everyone likes about wool, it's warm. And that gives you that, you want to cuddle up sort of cozy feeling. The thing I also like about this blanket is the texture that it gives is this knobby texture. And I like the stripes and the different color variations. Also the orange, which introduces the fall color. The other thing that's nice about this, it is big. It's a good sized blanket, so you have room enough to cuddle up with somebody if you want to do that. And it just gives you, again, that feeling of fall, where, you know, you are cuddling up, things are getting a little cooler. We are starting to move towards where, you know, we're not going to have as much light during the day and all of those things. It's not my favorite time of the year when the days get shorter. But, you know, you just find other things to do. You can find projects to do around the house. And, you know, this is the time I think people are doing that. You're decorating for Halloween and you're decorating for fall. And so take some of that time to do that and just go around your home and find the different materials that you want to add to the rooms and to your spaces to make them feel cozy. I mean, and you're trying to do that probably in many of the rooms in your house, especially the ones that you spend more of the time in, like your family room or your bedroom and those sorts of areas where you're trying to just make it feel a little more cozy and cuddly and just make it feel more like fall. So again, wool is the second material we want to talk about adding to your space. The other thing that I like about this blanket is I like the contrast between the smooth surface of the sofa and the busy sort of texture of the blanket, and it just gives your eye something else, again, to land on and see. So normally I have this folded behind the couch, in between the couch and my sofa table, just to give it a little more texture and a little more visual interest. I use this blanket very little, just because it is a little itchy, and my skin is kind of sensitive. So I do have other blankets that I use that are down here that I use more often. So this is mostly just for decoration, and that's fine. You can certainly have elements like that in your home where it's just adding visual interest. It doesn't also have to be functional, but if you're one of those people where this wouldn't bother you, then it would be both. You could use it for function to cover up with and stay warm, and when it's folded up and laid across the couch, then it's also visual. So you can think about adding elements to your room in that way too, where I don't think it's a waste. I think that anything you add as far as decor, where you're giving a visual cue of something, adds to your space, whether you're using it for another function or not. I think that there's always elements of that. I mean, even when you have artwork, you're not using the art. You're using the art as a visual stimulation or a visual cue in the other spaces. So there's nothing wrong with just having something that's visually pleasing in your space that might not be functional. So wool is the other material that we wanted to talk about to introduce into your space to give your space and your home that fall feeling. And the third material, I don't have anything down here. I do, but I'm going to use something else. The third material, we're going to have to go upstairs for, and so follow me, and I will show you what we're looking for. So the third material we're going to talk about is leather. So first of all, I love these pillows. I am a bag guy. I like to carry bags. I like to look at different kinds of bags. And this reminds me of those Bottega Veneta bags. If you know, you know. So it reminds me of that. But leather is another material for fall that you want to introduce into your room and into your spaces, because leather is a material that once the weather gets cooler, you are wearing leather jackets or leather pants or a leather skirt. And it doesn't have to be real, I know. It can be fake leather, if that's one of the things that you like. But again, it makes you feel like it's fall, cozy, warming up, snuggling. The other thing is when you add a leather element to something that's a little more soft, like we have here. Let me bring it this way so that way you can see it. It sort of breaks up the smoother element and gives yourself something a little more edgy to sort of look at. It changes the aspect of what you're looking at because it just adds a little more texture to it. Sometimes leather is a little more shiny, has a little more of a sheen to it. So it gives yourself or your eye something else to look at. It just adds an extra element of texture, an extra element of color. So I have these leather pillows in this black color. I also have it in this caramel or camel color. So it just, I don't know, it just gives yourself a little more something to look at visually. It also just, again, I think reminds you of fall because of the material. It is something that you're wearing as it gets a little colder. It gives you that cuddle up feeling. Again, it also just adds a little more something visual to look at. I also like the pattern of these pillows because again, I like the weave. It looks expensive. I think I got these from CB2 or Pottery Barn, or I think I get these from CB2. This one and this one. These are just they are covers, and so the insert comes separately. I'll see if I can find something, the link of these, if they're still available, and link them down below in case you're interested. This video is not sponsored, but I'll still try and see if I can look and find those things for you. But as I was saying, I don't know, I just like the look and the texture of these. And that is a material that, you start to wear. Fashion and interior design are a little linked as far as how the materials are introduced and the colors that are introduced during those seasons and the color of the year. And so those things are tied together with fashion and interior design together. And so that when one is introduced, usually the other follows. And I think we get a lot of cues from fashion and interior design as far as paint color, material, and how things are being worn or layered together and all of those things. And so sometimes if you pay attention to what's going on in fashion, you also can find out what's also going on in interior design. So that is one of the reasons I like this, because it does give me that fashion statement. So again, leather is one of those materials you want to think about adding to your spaces, adding to your room to give yourself that fall feeling. And number 4 is velvet. The reason why I like to add velvet this time of year is if you think about the holidays and what people are wearing usually around Christmas time, it's always a velvet something. So there's either a velvet in Santa Claus's outfit, or there's velvet in the outfits that you wear out, the dresses for the season and that sort of thing. And so velvet gives you that warm and cozy feeling because of I think the extra luxury it gives. I always think that when you think of velvet, it's something a little more expensive. It's also a little more timeless. I think velvet's been around forever and ever. It's not going anywhere. It's not one of those trendy fabrics or materials that is going to go out of style or anything anytime soon. The other thing is when you add something like velvet against something like the leather, it just gives you that nice juxtaposition of this sort of rough and edgy material and this smooth and cuddly material. And again, it just gives you that different dimension, other things to sort of view and get your eyes to carry in a different space, a different place. So that's one of the other reasons I like velvet. And I also like how it layers against other materials and things pretty easily. It's not something that you have to try and match to another fabric. I think, once you add this to a different, even if you add this to the other black pillow, you can certainly tell that the fabric is different than it is with the leather. And it just gives you some extra, just a different dimension of the color. So it still separates it. It also, again, gives you that luxurious feeling. This looks like velvet, but these are chenille. It's a little different. And you could add those in for fall too. But velvet just gives you that, I guess, a cozy, elevated feeling is kind of how I look at it. It just makes you think of the holidays. And it's not just pillows. You can do velvet curtains. You can do a velvet throw. I have a velvet throw on a few of the beds in my house. I have one in the orange bedroom, and I have one on my bedroom. I also have one in my daughter's bedroom. I also have one in our blue bedroom. So I add those just to give yourself a little more luxury feeling. They also are warm. So this time of year, if you add that velvet layer to your bed, it helps keep you warm. Also, if you're a person, and I do know that there are people that do this, change their curtains out for the season. If you add that velvet layer to your curtains or switch out your curtains to a velvet fabric, it can also help reduce some of the cold that might be coming in through the windows if you have that. It also just gives your windows a different feeling for the season, a different elevated feeling for the season. So if you're changing out, let's say if you have linen curtains and you want to change those out or add a panel of velvet curtains to the linen ones you have to sort of elevate it to the season, that's another way that you can do it and just bring in that extra element of velvet to your space. And the last material we're going to talk about, number 5, is cotton. And I think most of us probably decorate with cotton or wear cotton fabric throughout the year. So it's probably not something that you automatically think of as fall, but it definitely can be, especially when your fall material you're introducing it in is a cozy blanket. And the thing I like about these blankets is they are cuddly and cozy. I have these blankets probably in 2 or 3 different colors throughout the house, and a couple of them everywhere. I have 2 in my living room. I have these 2 up here. I have 2 in the orange bedroom. And they add a different element of color to the space. They're also warm and cozy, and they also give you a different sort of texture. So when you're decorating and you think about adding color to your space and different material to your space, also think about adding different textures to your space, because again, that gives your eye something else to land on. Gives your eye something else to view in the room, to view in the space. And it just, again, will give you that feeling of texture and make you want to go and explore something else. I think that sometimes when you are looking for the thing that is making your space not feel the way that you want it to, I get that question all the time, what's missing from my space? What's missing from my space? And I think a lot of that has to do with the variations of color or texture or pattern in your space. And so I think we forget about that. Even when you're doing something like I showed in the first part of the video, when I talked about the different whites that I have on my couch. And so when you just have the linen everywhere, it just makes it feel boring. But if you have a linen white and then you have that bouclé white, it gives yourself a different sort of texture. It's the same thing with paint. If you have your paint on the wall the same color as the paint on your baseboard, it doesn't give itself that same visual as if you have a creamy white like I have on my walls, but I also have a very stark shiny white on the baseboards. So it just gives you some variance. So that's something that you should think about too, is when you're decorating or designing, is add the different textures and add the different patterns, because those are the things that are going to help your room not feel flat or feel like it's missing something. And when you add these different layers, you know, and especially in the fall, when you add these different sort of layers and textures, you have something you can cuddle up with, you can watch a movie, you can read a book, you can just enjoy your space and enjoy living in your space. And again, it just makes it feel more like fall when you add these different textures. So the last one we were going to talk about today is cotton. And you want to add different textures and different patterns and different layers of this throughout your space. And that will also help your space feel more fall-like. So roomies, that concludes today's video. I hope you learned something from those 5 tips and materials that you can add to help your room and space feel a little more cozy. And the thing that I'd like to also take into fall is just the feeling of feeling grateful for things. I know we're coming up to Thanksgiving, and that is one of the things that we tend to do as a family is we, before we eat, I'm not a sort of religious type of person, I guess, but I do feel that there is a time that you can always find time to feel grateful for things, or thoughtful or appreciative of things that you have and people in your life and those sorts of things. And that is something I think that as we get closer to the holidays, and we're trying to spend time with our friends and our family, that we just want to be thankful for those people in our life. And take some time to reflect on those. Again, hug people a little harder, a little tighter, a little more often. I think that was one of the things I enjoyed about this weekend and spending time with my daughter. We have been to the zoo there several times, but for me, it's never about spending time at the zoo. It's about spending time with my daughter and making memories for her. You know, and the zoo is so big that it does seem like every time we go, we get to see something different. So this time we did get to see the panda bears, because the panda bears weren't there the last time we went. We got to see those and the red pandas and the koala bears and certain other things that we just didn't get to see the last couple times that we went. So it was nice. But again, it's just making those memories. It's finding a new way to do that with our new normal without my husband and those sorts of things. And, you know, just finding a different way of dealing with loss, because you never really get over that. I think it is just, you find different ways to deal with it. And I don't think that hurt will ever go away. I think we just find other ways to make it better for us and for the people around us. And take that into our holidays and just find a way to feel thankful and feel blessed and feel you know, lucky to be around and have people around you and friends and family. And check on those loved ones and neighbors that you may not have seen in a little while or talked to in a little while, and just check in with them and see how they're doing. And as always, I look forward to creating with you.